My sister said my kids were a bad influence, and banned they from her daughter's party. So I crushed her perfect party with one Disneyland trip. I never thought I'd be writing this story, but here we are. Some context first. I'm 34, female, married to my wonderful husband Daniel, 36, male, and we have 3 kids, Mia, 8, Lucas, 6, and Sophie, 4. My sister Melissa, 29, female, has 2 kids, Chloe, 7, and Ryan, 5. Our kids have always been close, or so I thought. Melissa and I used to have a decent relationship, not best friends but typical sisters who got along well enough. That changed when she married her husband Brad 3 years ago. Brad comes from what he considers a refined family. His words, not mine. He's always making comments about proper behavior, appropriate activities, and raising children the right way. The problems started small. Melissa began making subtle comments about my parenting style. How Mia was too loud at family gatherings. How Lucas was too energetic and needed to learn self-control. How Sophie was too clingy and needed to be more independent. I brushed it off initially, thinking she was just going through a phase with her new husband's influence. But the comments got worse. During Easter dinner, Brad made a show of correcting my kids' table manners while praising his own children's superior upbringing. When Lucas spilled juice on his shirt, Brad actually said, "This is why children need proper guidance, loud enough for everyone to hear." My parents, unfortunately, have always favored Melissa. She was the baby, the easy child, while I was supposedly the difficult one. They've carried this dynamic into our adult lives, constantly making excuses for her behavior while expecting me to be the understanding older sister. Fast forward to last month, my niece Chloe's 7th birthday was coming up, and Melissa was planning a big party. She'd been talking about it for weeks, renting a bouncy castle, hiring a character performer, the works. My kids were excited. They'd been asking about party games and what gift to bring for their cousin. Then came the text from my mom. "Your kids can watch the birthday live stream." I stared at my phone, confused. Watch the live stream? I called my mom immediately. "Mom, what do you mean watch the live stream? We're coming to the party, right?" There was an uncomfortable pause. "Well, honey, Melissa thinks it might be better if your kids don't attend this year." "What? Why?" "She's concerned about... well, she thinks your children might be too much for Chloe's special day." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Too much? They're her cousins. They've been at every birthday party since they were born. "I know, sweetheart, but Melissa has her mind made up. She says she'll live stream the party so your kids don't feel left out." I hung up, shaking with anger and hurt. But I thought maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe I should talk to Melissa directly. Big mistake. I texted Melissa, "Hey, Mom mentioned something about the kids watching Chloe's party on live stream. I think there might be some confusion." Her response came quickly, "No confusion. Sorry, but your kids have a negative impact on mine. I want Chloe's party to be perfect, and frankly, your children are too disruptive. They can watch from home." I read that message 5 times. Negative impact? Too disruptive? About my babies? I called her immediately. "Melissa, what the hell is wrong with you?" "Nothing's wrong with me," she said coolly. "I'm protecting my children from bad influences." "Bad influences? They're 4, 6, and 8 years old." Mia encourages Chloe to be defiant. Lucas gets Ryan worked up and hyperactive, and Sophie whines when she doesn't get her way, which teaches my kids that crying gets you attention. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "They're kids, Melissa. That's normal kid behavior. Maybe in your house. Brad and I have higher standards." "Higher standards? You mean being judgmental and cruel?" "I'm done with this conversation. The decision is final. Your kids can watch the party online or not at all." She hung up on me. I sat in my car in the grocery store parking lot and cried. Not just because of the rejection, but because of how I was going to explain to my children that they weren't welcome at their cousin's birthday party. That evening, I had to crush my kids' excitement. Mia asked why they couldn't go, and I struggled to find age-appropriate words. "Aunt Melissa wants a smaller party this year." "But we're family," Lucas said, confused. "Can we at least give Chloe her present?" Sophie asked. My heart broke all over again. Daniel was furious when I told him. "This is insane. What kind of person excludes children from a family party?" "The kind who thinks our kids are bad influences," I said bitterly. "You know what? Screw them. Let's do something amazing with our kids that day. And that's when the idea hit me. Daniel, what if we took the kids to Disneyland? His eyes lit up. That's brilliant. We'd been planning a Disneyland trip for months but hadn't pulled the trigger. The timing was perfect. The party was on a Saturday and we could make it a whole weekend trip. I didn't tell my family about our plans. I simply responded to my mother's group text about the party livestream with, "Thanks, but we have other plans that day." My mom replied, "What other plans?" "Family plans." Melissa jumped in, "You're not going to watch Chloe's party?" "Nope, we'll be busy." "Busy doing what?" I left her on read. The week leading up to the party, my kids were still sad about missing it, but the promise of Disneyland perked them up considerably. We planned everything: character dining, fast passes, matching family t-shirts. This was going to be magical. I threw myself into planning the perfect Disneyland trip. I researched every ride, every restaurant, every character meet and greet. If Melissa wanted to exclude my kids from family fun, then I'd show them what real family fun looked like. Daniel and I stayed up late mapping out our route through the parks, downloading the Disneyland app, and making dining reservations. I even bought the kids special Disneyland pajamas to wear the night before our trip. "Mom, are you sure we can't invite Chloe and Ryan?" Mia asked one evening while I was packing our bags. My heart clenched. Even after being excluded, my sweet girl still wanted to include her cousins. "Not this time, baby. This is just for our family." "But they'd love it too. I know they would. But sometimes people make choices, and we have to live with those choices." Meanwhile, the family group chat was getting increasingly awkward. Melissa kept posting updates about party preparations, clearly fishing for responses from me. Photos of the bouncy castle being set up, the elaborate cake being decorated, the character performer in costume. "Chloe is so excited," she posted with a picture of my niece in her birthday dress. I didn't respond. My mom tried to play peacekeeper. "The party is going to be wonderful. I wish everyone could be there." The passive-aggressive guilt trip was obvious, but I was done being manipulated. The night before our trip, I helped the kids pick out their outfits. Mia chose her favorite princess dress. Lucas picked his superhero shirt, and Sophie insisted on wearing her tutu with mouse ears. "We're going to have the best day ever," Sophie declared, twirling in her outfit. "Yes, we are," I agreed, taking photos of them being silly and excited. I posted one picture on Instagram with the caption, "Early bedtime tonight. Big day tomorrow," with a sparkles emoji. I didn't specify where we were going, but the Mickey Mouse ears in the background were a pretty clear hint. Saturday morning arrived. We loaded up the car at 6 a.m. for the drive to Anaheim. The kids were buzzing with excitement, and I felt a petty satisfaction knowing we were about to have the most amazing day, while Melissa's perfect party played out. We arrived at Disneyland right as the gates opened. The kids' faces when they saw the castle were priceless. Mia gasped, Lucas jumped up and down, and Sophie clapped her tiny hands. "This is better than any party," Mia declared. Yes, it was. We hit all the classic rides: Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, It's a Small World. The kids met Mickey Mouse, got autographs from princesses, and ate churros for breakfast because vacation rules. I started posting photos and videos on Instagram and Facebook. Not out of spite initially, just excited parents sharing a magical day. Mia grinning with Goofy, Lucas piloting the Millennium Falcon, Sophie hugging Tinkerbell. The pure joy on their faces was everything. Around noon, my phone started buzzing with notifications, lots of likes and comments on our posts. "So magical. Your kids look so happy. Best parents ever." But then I noticed who was viewing our Instagram stories. Melissa had watched every single one multiple times. So had my mom and several family friends who I knew were at the party. I could practically feel the tension building through the screen. Here they were, trying to have their perfect party, while my kids were living their best life at the happiest place on earth. Daniel noticed me checking my phone and grinned. "Getting some attention? You could say that. Melissa's watched our story about 15 times in the last hour. Good, let her see what she's missing." We continued posting throughout the day, a video of Lucas screaming with joy on the Matterhorn, Mia getting Belle's autograph, and curtsying perfectly, Sophie giggling uncontrollably on the teacups. Each post showed pure, uninhibited childhood happiness, the kind that can't be manufactured or controlled. Between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, I checked the family group chat. Things were getting interesting. Melissa had posted a few pictures from the party, but they looked forced. Chloe was smiling, but it wasn't reaching her eyes. The other kids looked like they were going through the motions. Even the adults seemed tense. Then I saw it. A message from my Aunt Sarah, who was at the party. The kids keep asking about Mia, Lucas, and Sophie. They want to know why their cousins aren't here. My mom quickly responded, "They're having their own family day." But the damage was done. Other family members started chiming in. "Uncle Mike, family day? It's Chloe's birthday, shouldn't all the cousins be here?" Aunt Sarah, the kids seem confused about why they're not invited. Grandma Rose, I miss those little ones. The party doesn't feel complete. I could practically feel Melissa's panic through the phone screen. At 2 p.m., while we were watching the parade, my phone rang. It was Mom. "Where are you?" she demanded. "Disneyland." "Disneyland? Today? Yep. The kids are having a blast, but Chloe's party is being live-streamed." "Right, so we can watch it from here." Silence. "This is ridiculous," Mom finally said. "You're being petty." "I'm being a good parent. My kids deserved a magical day after being excluded from their cousin's party. You should have told us." "Why? So you could try to talk me out of treating my children to something special?" She hung up. 20 minutes later, Melissa called. "How could you take them to Disneyland without telling us? The same way you excluded them from the party without considering their feelings. That's different. How?" Chloe and Ryan are asking why they can't go to Disneyland too. And there it was, the real reason for her call. "Well, they can watch our fun on the live stream," I said sweetly. "That's not funny. Wasn't meant to be. The kids are crying. They want to know why their cousins get to go to Disneyland while they're stuck at a boring party." I almost laughed. Boring party? I thought it was going to be perfect. You know what I mean? Actually, I don't. Your party is live streamed for kids to watch remotely, right? Perfect solution. Stop being a hypocrite. She hung up. The messages started flooding in after that. First from Mom, "This is causing drama at the party. Chloe keeps asking about Disneyland instead of enjoying her gifts." Then from Dad, "Your sister's kids are having meltdowns. Can you please just bring them along?" From Melissa, "Please, the kids won't stop crying about Disneyland. Can you come pick them up?" From Brad, "This is extremely inconsiderate behavior." From Mom again, "We'll pay for their tickets if you come get them." But the messages didn't stop there. More family members started weighing in as word spread about what was happening. "Aunt Sarah, why didn't you tell us you were going to Disneyland? We could have planned around it." "Uncle Mike, the kids at the party are all asking why they can't go too." "Grandma Rose, this is causing such a fuss. Can't we all just get along?" "Cousin Jenny, your Disneyland pics look amazing. The kids here are so jealous." And then the kicker from Melissa, "You're ruining Chloe's birthday. She won't stop crying about wanting to go to Disneyland." I screenshotted that one to show Daniel later. The irony was too perfect. Throughout the afternoon, the messages became more desperate. Photos started appearing in the group chat, showing Chloe and Ryan in tears, pointing at someone's phone displaying our Instagram stories. Other party guests looked uncomfortable as the birthday girl melted down over missing out on Disneyland. "The bouncy castle is empty," my mom texted. "All the kids want to do is look at your pictures." "Maybe they should have been included from the beginning," I typed back. "That's not fair, and you know it. What's not fair is excluding children from family events and then expecting everyone to pretend it's okay." The messages continued. "Melissa, fine, I made a mistake. Are you happy now?" Me, "I'm happy that my kids are having a magical day instead of feeling rejected by their family." Melissa, "Come pick up Chloe and Ryan, please. I'll pay for everything." Me, "Sorry, but your kids have a negative impact on mine. I want my children's Disneyland trip to be perfect." The silence that followed was golden. Then Brad chimed in, "That's completely uncalled for me. Interesting. That's exactly what your wife said about my children. But when I use the same words, suddenly it's uncalled for? Dad, you're being petty." Me, "I'm being consistent. This is what exclusion feels like." The back and forth continued for hours, each message from them showing increasing desperation while I maintained my position with calm logic. It was almost therapeutic, watching them scramble to fix a situation they'd created. Around 4 p.m., I got a call from my cousin Jenny, who was at the party. "Girl, you need to know what's happening here. she said quietly. It's a disaster. Tell me everything. Chloe has been crying for 2 hours straight. Every time someone tries to distract her with presents or cake, she asks why Mia, Lucas, and Sophie aren't here. Ryan keeps asking if he can go to Disneyland too. What's Melissa doing? Alternating between trying to damage control and frantically texting you. Brad looks like he wants to disappear. Your parents keep trying to get everyone to focus on the party, but half the guests are asking where your kids are, and the other party kids. They've all seen your Instagram posts now. They're asking their parents why they can't go to Disneyland instead of staying at this party. 3 families have already left early. I felt a mixture of satisfaction and sympathy. I hadn't intended to ruin Chloe's party, but the consequences of exclusion were playing out exactly as they should. Jenny, I never wanted to hurt Chloe. I know that. But Melissa created this situation. She thought she could exclude your kids without consequences, and now she's learning otherwise. I showed the messages to Daniel, who was holding Sophie while she napped against his shoulder after our exhausting morning. They want us to drive 2 hours back, pick up the kids who weren't welcome at our original plans, drive 2 hours back to Disneyland, pay for their tickets and food, and basically become their babysitters. That's exactly what they want. What are you going to say? I thought about it while watching Mia and Lucas share a Dole Whip, their faces sticky and happy. I typed back to the group chat, "Sorry, but your kids have a negative impact on mine. I want my children's Disneyland trip to be perfect, and frankly, adding more children would be too disruptive. They can watch from the live stream." My phone exploded. "Mom, that's cruel. Melissa, you're using my words against me. Dad, this isn't like you. Brad, this behavior is unacceptable." I responded, interesting. When I said the exact same thing about my kids being excluded, I was told to deal with it. But when it affects your kids, suddenly it's cruel and unacceptable? The messages stopped. We spent the rest of the day having an absolutely magical time. The kids rode Space Mountain twice, met all their favorite characters, and watched the fireworks with wonder in their eyes. It was one of those perfect family days you remember forever. That evening, back at our hotel, I posted a video of the kids talking about their favorite parts of the day. Mia mentioned meeting Belle. Lucas was excited about the lightsaber he bought, and Sophie couldn't stop talking about the teacup ride. "This was the best day ever," Mia said to the camera. "Better than any party." The video was pure childhood joy captured in 30 seconds, no scripted responses, no posed smiles, just genuine happiness and excitement. I tagged it. Sometimes the best family moments happen when you make your own magic. Within an hour, the video had dozens of comments from friends and family members. "Your kids are so happy! What precious memories! This is what childhood should look like." But I also noticed something else. The video had been viewed by everyone who had been at Chloe's party. My phone started pinging with private messages from various relatives. "Aunt Sarah, your kids look so genuinely happy. I feel terrible about today. Uncle Mike, those sweet babies deserve to be included. What were we thinking? Cousin Jenny, I've been thinking all day about how wrong this whole situation is. Grandma Rose, my heart breaks seeing how joyful they are and knowing they were excluded from family. Even some of the other parents from the party reached out. Your kids are always so sweet at family events. I couldn't understand why they weren't there today. My kids kept asking where Mia, Lucas, and Sophie were. I didn't know what to tell them. The party felt incomplete without your little ones there." The messages kept coming throughout the evening, each one reinforcing what I already knew. Excluding my children had been wrong, and everyone could see it now. Around 10 p.m., I got a lengthy text from my mom. "I've been thinking all day about what happened. Your father and I have always tried to stay neutral between you and Melissa. But today showed us that sometimes neutrality is just enabling bad behavior. Your children are wonderful, and they should never have been excluded from family. I'm sorry we didn't stand up for them. I'm sorry we didn't stand up for you. Tomorrow I'm calling Melissa to tell her this can never happen again." That message meant more to me than she probably realized. My parents had always favored Melissa, always expected me to be the understanding one, the one who kept the peace. For my mom to acknowledge this pattern and commit to changing it felt like a breakthrough. Daniel found me crying happy tears while reading the message. "Good tears?" he asked, pulling me close. "The best tears." I think things are finally going to change. The next morning brought a knock at our hotel room door. I opened it to find my parents standing in the hallway. We drove down, Mom said. We need to talk. They came in and sat down while Daniel took the kids to the hotel pool. What you did yesterday was wrong, Dad started. What I did was take my children on a family trip. You knew it would upset Chloe and Ryan, Mom said. The same way Melissa knew excluding my kids would upset them. That's different. No, it's not, I finally exploded. For years you've made excuses for Melissa while expecting me to be the bigger person. Well, I'm done. She's your sister, Dad said. And Mia, Lucas, and Sophie are her niece and nephews. But that didn't stop her from calling them bad influences and excluding them from a family event. She was trying to make Chloe's party special, Mom defended. By making my kids feel worthless? By telling them they weren't good enough to be there. My parents looked uncomfortable. Do you have any idea how it felt to tell my 4-year-old that she couldn't go to her cousin's birthday party? Or explain to my 6-year-old why he wasn't welcome? We didn't know it would hurt them so much, Mom said quietly. Because you didn't bother to think about them, just like always. The room was silent for a moment. The kids were miserable yesterday, Dad finally said. All they could talk about was Disneyland. Good. Now they know how my kids felt about being excluded. This isn't solving anything, Mom said. You're right, it's not. But it's showing you what it feels like when the shoe is on the other foot. My parents left without resolution, but I could see the wheels turning. They were finally understanding the double standard they'd maintained for years. The rest of our Disneyland weekend was perfect. We did California Adventure on Sunday. And the kids loved Cars Land and the Incredicoaster. More photos, more videos, more magical memories. When we got home Sunday night, I found 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Most were from Melissa and they showed a clear progression. 2 p.m. Saturday, seriously, come get the kids. 4 p.m. Saturday, they won't stop asking about Disneyland. 6 p.m. Saturday, Chloe cried through her entire party. 8 p.m. Saturday, this is all your fault. 10 p.m. Saturday, I'm sorry about what I said before. 12 a.m. Sunday, please call me. 2 a.m. Sunday, the kids haven't stopped talking about wanting to go to Disneyland. Sunday morning, can we please talk? Sunday afternoon, I messed up. Sunday evening, I owe you an apology. I didn't respond to any of them. Monday morning, Melissa showed up at my house. We need to talk, she said when I opened the door. Do we? Please, let me come in. Against my better judgment, I let her in. We sat in my living room while the kids were at school. I'm sorry, she started. For what, specifically? For excluding your kids. For saying they were bad influences. For being a terrible sister. I waited. The party was a disaster, she continued. All Chloe and Ryan could talk about was why their cousins got to go to Disneyland while they were stuck at a party. They barely touched their cake, ignored their presents, and cried when they saw your Instagram stories. That must have been difficult for you. It was. But it made me realize how awful your kids must have felt being excluded, and how awful you must have felt as their mother. I stayed quiet, letting her continue. By 3 p.m., we had to end the party early. Chloe was inconsolable. Ryan was having a meltdown, and half the other kids were asking their parents if they could go to Disneyland instead. 3 families left before we even cut the cake. She paused, looking genuinely distressed. Brad tried to salvage it by suggesting we play more games, but no one was interested. All anyone could talk about was your magical day at Disneyland. Even the adults started asking why your kids weren't invited. What did you tell them? The truth. That I thought your kids would be too disruptive. And you know what? Every single person looked at me like I was crazy. Aunt Sarah actually said, "They're just children being children. That's what parties are for." Uncle Mike asked if I was feeling okay, excluding my own niece and nephews. Grandma Rose said she was disappointed in me. Even the other parents started sharing stories about their own kids' disruptive behavior at parties, like it was completely normal. Because it is normal. I know that now. Melissa's voice was getting smaller as she spoke. Brad and I have been so focused on this idea of perfect children that we forgot kids are supposed to be kids. She was quiet for a moment. After everyone left, Chloe asked me why I didn't invite Mia, Lucas, and Sophie. She said the party felt empty without them. Ryan asked if we could have another party and invite his cousins this time. I felt a pang of sympathy, but I wasn't ready to let her off the hook yet. And what did you tell them? That mommy made a mistake. A big one. We sat in silence for a few minutes. The worst part, Melissa continued, was seeing how much fun your kids were having while mine were miserable at their own family party. Every picture you posted showed pure joy. Mia's face when she met Belle, Lucas screaming with excitement on the rides. Sophie's pure delight with everything. That's what childhood should look like. My kids have always been joyful, Melissa. The problem was never them. I know that now. Brad's been doing some soul-searching too. He realizes he's been judgmental and unfair. He actually apologized to me yesterday for pushing this perfect behavior narrative. That surprised me. Brad admitting fault wasn't something I'd expected. What changed? Seeing Chloe and Ryan so devastated, realizing that all his talk about proper behavior and raising children right had led to us excluding family members and ruining our daughter's birthday. He said watching your kids' genuine happiness on social media made him realize we've been sucking the joy out of childhood. What do you want from me, Melissa? Forgiveness, and would you consider taking all the kids to Disneyland together sometime? We'll pay for everything. Hotels, tickets, food, everything. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. She seemed genuinely remorseful, but I wasn't ready to just forgive and forget. Melissa, you called my children bad influences. You excluded them from a family event. You made them feel unwanted and unloved. That's not something I can just get over because your kids had a rough weekend. I understand. Do you? Because this isn't the first time. You've been making comments about my kids and my parenting for months. This was just the final straw. She was quiet. Remember Mia's school play 2 months ago? You made a comment about her being too theatrical on stage. It's a play, Melissa. She's supposed to be theatrical. And Lucas's soccer game, where you said he was too competitive for celebrating his goal? He's 6 years old and scored his first goal ever. Of course he was excited. And Sophie's tantrum at the grocery store, where you loudly told Brad that some parents don't know how to handle public behavior? She was 3 and tired and overwhelmed. That's normal. Melissa winced at each example. I was wrong. I need to see real change, not just apologies because the consequences finally affected you. What kind of change? Start treating my children with the same love and respect you show your own. Stop making judgmental comments about normal kid behavior. And, most importantly, remember that they're family, not burdens to be tolerated. I can do that. We'll see. Over the next few weeks I watched carefully. Melissa did seem to be making an effort. She invited my kids over for playdates. She defended Mia when Brad made a comment about her being too energetic. She even posted photos of all the kids together, with captions about loving her niece and nephews. The change was gradual but noticeable. When Lucas got excited about showing her his new Lego creation and knocked over a glass of water in the process, instead of her usual lecture about being careful, she simply said, "Accidents happen, let's clean it up together." When Sophie had a minor meltdown at the grocery store because she couldn't have candy, Melissa actually knelt down to Sophie's level and said, "I know you're disappointed. Sometimes we all feel frustrated when we can't have what we want." The biggest test came when Mia got overly excited at a family dinner and started talking loudly about her day at school, interrupting adult conversation. In the past, Melissa would have made pointed comments about inside voices and waiting your turn. Instead, she listened to Mia's story with genuine interest, and then gently reminded her that others wanted to share too. Even Brad was making changes. I overheard him telling Chloe, "Your cousins have such wonderful energy. They know how to have fun." It was a complete 180-degree turn from his previous attitude. But the real proof came during a playdate at Melissa's house. All 5 kids were playing together in the backyard, being typically loud and energetic. At one point, Lucas accidentally stepped on a flower in Melissa's carefully maintained garden. I held my breath, waiting for the lecture about being careful and respecting other people's property. Instead, Melissa walked over and said, "No worries, buddy. Flowers grow back, but fun memories last forever." Lucas beamed at her, and I felt something shift in my chest. This was the sister I'd always hoped she could be. 2 weeks later, she called me with an update that really showed how much had changed. "I need to tell you something," she said. "Brad and I went to a parenting workshop last weekend." "Really?" "Yeah. After everything that happened, we realized we needed help." The facilitator talked about accepting children as they are, instead of trying to mold them into some perfect ideal. She said joy and energy in children should be celebrated, not suppressed. That's really good, Melissa. We also talked to Chloe and Ryan about the birthday party. We explained that we made a mistake excluding their cousins, and we apologized to them for ruining what should have been a happy day. I was impressed. Taking responsibility with their own children showed real growth. How did they react? Chloe said she forgives us but wants to have another party with Mia, Lucas, and Sophie. Ryan asked if we could all go to Disneyland together, like we promised. The conversation continued, but what struck me most was how naturally Melissa was speaking about my children. No judgment, no criticism. Just genuine affection for her niece and nephews. But the real test came 3 weeks later when Ryan had his 5th birthday party. "I want all the cousins there," Melissa told me when she called to invite us. "It won't be the same without Mia, Lucas, and Sophie." The party was lovely, not perfect. Lucas did spill juice. Sophie needed a few minutes to calm down when she got overwhelmed by the noise. And Mia got excited and spoke louder than necessary. But they were just being kids, and for the first time in months no one commented on their behavior. "They're such good kids," my mom said, watching them play together. "They always were," I replied pointedly. After the party, Melissa approached me. "Thank you for coming. And thank you for giving me a chance to make this right. We're family," I said simply. "About Disneyland," she started. "What about it?" The kids keep asking, all 4 of them. Would you consider a group trip?" I thought about it. Under certain conditions, name them. No comments about behavior unless someone's actually in danger. No comparing the kids to each other. And if you or Brad make anyone feel excluded or unwelcome, we leave immediately. Deal. And you pay for your own family's tickets and expenses. Obviously. 6 weeks later, we were all at Disneyland together. Both families, grandparents included. It was chaotic and exhausting and absolutely wonderful. The kids had a blast, and even Brad seemed to loosen up, laughing when Ryan got soaked on Splash Mountain. There was one moment that particularly stood out. We were waiting in line for Pirates of the Caribbean when Sophie started getting cranky. Instead of making a comment about her behavior, Melissa knelt down and offered to carry her. "Sometimes big days are overwhelming," she told Sophie gently. "Want to sit with Aunt Melissa for a while?" Sophie nodded and let Melissa pick her up. No judgment, no criticism, just love. That evening, as we watched the fireworks together, Mia leaning against me and Lucas on Daniel's shoulders, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Genuine happiness with my extended family. "Thank you," Melissa said quietly, appearing beside me. "For what?" "For teaching me what really matters, and for not giving up on us." "We're family," I repeated. "Family doesn't give up." But I also learned something important through this whole experience. Sometimes being the bigger person means standing up for yourself and your children, even when it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it means showing people the consequences of their actions, instead of just absorbing the hurt. The Disneyland revenge wasn't really about revenge at all. It was about showing my kids that they deserved magical moments and family love, regardless of what anyone else thought. It was about demonstrating to my extended family what exclusion felt like from the other side. Most importantly, it was about refusing to let anyone make my children feel less than worthy of love and inclusion. The update to this story is that our family relationships are stronger now than they've been in years. Melissa and I text regularly. The kids have regular playdates, and we're planning a family vacation together next summer. Sometimes, you have to create your own magic to remind people of what they're missing, and sometimes that magic brings everyone home. We just booked our family vacation, a week-long trip to Disney World for all of us. The kids are beyond excited, and honestly, so am I. It's amazing what can happen when you stand up for what matters most. The people you love and their right to be loved in return. Brad even thanked me last week for opening his eyes to what childhood joy really looks like. Apparently, watching his kids experience pure happiness at Disneyland made him realize that perfection isn't the goal, love is. My parents have also been more mindful about treating all the grandchildren equally. Mom told me recently that she was proud of how I handled the situation, even though it was difficult at the time. As for Melissa, she's become the sister I always hoped she could be. She advocates for all the kids now, not just her own, and has become one of my closest friends. The moral of the story? Sometimes, the best revenge is living well and loving your family fiercely. And sometimes, taking your kids to Disneyland instead of watching a live stream is exactly the magic everyone needed. Even if they didn't know it at the time.